I can't remember the last time that we had good news on the real estate front. And Toronto today is not that day. Today we are not, the news today is, it is so frustrating because it never gets better. News in the Toronto Star this week that the condo market is now a ghost town. At the end of May, Greater Toronto had the highest number of condos for sale during any month in recent history, with over 8,000 apartment units on the market. Now, the highest number of active condo listings was 7,600 back in October 2020, so we have blown past that number. Buyers are also shying away from investing in condos that aren't yet built, like the pre-construction condos. Those sales, they're not down by a bit. They're down 74% compared with the 10-year average. And this is happening on the backdrop of a massive homelessness crisis. People can't find a place to live, and yet there's all these condos on the market. There could be a lot of reasons for this, depending on your political persuasion. You're going to blame one level of government over another. One argument is that we have prioritized building condos that were set up for investment as opposed to set up for families. So there's a lot of, studio apartments, one-bedroom apartments that are for sale. And it's like, okay, well, I'm a family we got 3 kids and we need a place to live. And these places aren't other questions are that these things aren't affordable. And earlier this week, we had a conversation about what affordability actually means. And the general consensus is in order for us to achieve what the province has deemed affordable for a single detached home, you'd have to live quite literally in fantasy land. There's no such thing as a house for $350,000 in the city. And that's what affordability means. And so lots to dig into. Those are my high level thoughts. So let's dig in with somebody who knows far more about real estate than I, Develle Morrison with Bosley Real Estate Limited. Good morning, Develle. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Ben, how are you? It's so funny you said all bad news. Here's the positive. Here's the silver lining. That if you've always wanted to buy a condo and get into the condo market, there are many options for you out there.
Sure, but then why aren't there any takers?
Interest rates.
There you go.
Yes.
Good call.
Right? Like everyone's complaining about the interest rates for a reason.
Yeah.
And then when you think about it, if you want to buy something, you're being stress tested.
Yeah.
So you're being tested at 2% higher than the rates that are high. Now, I realize if you look at a 20-year span or look at the rates that we had in the early 90s, the rates right now aren't that high, but they are high for our recent memory of the last 5, 6, or 7 years, right?
Yeah. It's just, I just every day I look at it and this, like when I last week or a few days ago, I read that since January, the cost of a home in Toronto on the market has gone up $140,000 since January. Like that's, I don't know anybody with $140,000 to spare, let alone add that to the cost of a home that they can already not afford. Like it does, it doesn't feel like things are getting better, Develle.
No, and of course, it does feel like everybody is stressed financially, but I guess also the silver lining is bank rate announcement is coming up, the next one on July the 24th.
Yeah.
And we're all hoping, and now I feel like it's inevitable that the rates will come down yet again. So that is the silver lining.
Yeah.
It's not all doom and gloom.
It's not. Okay. All right. So I'm taking my cues from you, Develle. And in our few remaining minutes, let's talk about another story. And this headline makes me feel optimistic. Toronto is racing towards yet another housing disaster with Villiers Island. What does this mean?
Well, essentially the planners haven't increased the density down. And this is when we're talking about Villiers Island, we're talking about Cherry Street.
Yes.
Sort of all the way down there.
That massive new Portlands development.
Exactly. And I mean, to me, I think what a great opportunity, this big tract of land that you can develop and turn into anything. And so I think it's really sad that our planning department seems afraid to actually go crazy in terms of a plan for a lot more density.
But let me play devil's advocate, Develle. I remember when these plans were first being developed and the whole point of it that everybody seemed to buy into, at least we'll call it 5-10 years ago, was that this was going to be a walkable, manageable, low density area where that was going to be highly livable in a new brand new area of town. Back then, I don't know that we were placing the priority on density that we are placing today. And so, and I remember everyone celebrating these plans back in the day.
Yeah, you're right. We were not thinking as the density that we needed today, but I think that that's poor planning.
Yeah.
Right? We know that our population's increasing. We know that immigration's increasing. We should know 10 years ago that we need to plan for higher density. And now we need to plan for higher density. And I remember last year, actually, there was a story that our city had not planned to budget for all of the transit that they needed for that area. You mentioned walkable area. Now, I was trying to do some research to see if that had changed. I believe that had changed, but I do think that we also need to make sure that that area is, highly accessible via transit.
Yes.
Because right now it's sort of car town.
Oh, yeah.
And coupled with the fact that the Gardiner has been taken down in that one section, also creates stress in getting to that area. So, I mean, I guess I could go on forever about the Gardiner, but
don't worry, I'll take care of that later today.
I would just say this. I feel so bad for anyone who lives in the east end of the city, for people who live in the beaches in Leslieville and Riverdale, because traffic right now for them is really not on their side. They've got the Gardiner, and then the Gardiner that's been taken down, but then they also have the Gardiner that's been blocked off by a lane. Now, I'm happy to hear that they're going to now do construction 24/7 on that. But yeah, something's got to change for the poor people in the East End. It's not good. It's not fair.
Well, Devel, I'm going to be talking with Brad Bradford a little bit later. Apparently, and I learned this yesterday, my definition and your definition of 24/7 might not be the city's definition. We're actually living in a world where 24/7 is up for debate.
Oh,
yeah. No, I'm not kidding. My blood started boiling when I heard that. Boiling. Only in Toronto would we have to debate the definition. Well, what does 24/7 mean? Yeah, that's happening. Sorry, I know we're supposed to talk real estate, but I mean, this is this infrastructure. It definitely leads to real estate. No, listen. I take your point on Villiers Island and the Portlands, and I agree with you. I think there should be a little more. If we're looking to put a renewed priority on density, then there should be a way to go back to the well and get these plans changed in short order, as opposed to the years and years of saying, okay, well, we want to add 10 stories to that building.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Absolutely. For sure. And I think we also need to get a little inventive about our housing. Have you ever seen by Scarborough Bluffs, they have these cool houseboats?
Yes, I've heard about that. Yeah.
And they're actually really cheap. So if we talk about having affordable housing, these people live on the water in essentially what's a condo on the water, and it's not that expensive. And sometimes I think, why don't we just have a few more of those? Like, it's affordable housing, it's interesting housing. And I think that there's people who would certainly be open to living on the water and only spending $400,000 for their place, right?
Yeah, we're going to leave it there, Devel. Thank you so much. Have a great Saturday.
Thanks, you too.